Hi, I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And this is Rediscover, a conversation where we travel through everything that makes up the essence of who we are and how to live authentically and imaginatively.
Here, we invite you to join us as we explore and discuss a little bit of, well, everything.
From Disney to cultivating your most authentic life to deepening your relationships and talking about the real stuff.
We hope you'll find this a space that speaks to you, encourages you, and brings a little bit of magic into your day.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And welcome back to this week's episode of Rediscover. We are featuring extraordinary women doing unconventional things. And we have another really special guest today to talk about her incredible journey in her life. And I'm just so excited to introduce you to our dear friend, Lia.
It's an honor. I'm so happy to be here. I love this podcast.
Oh,
I don't know how much I've said it to Kristen, but I tell you all the time, but like, I love this podcast. And I was just saying that it's the perfect combination of self-concept and Disney.
oh my gosh. Wait, I actually love that. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's a very like distilled way of like putting our brand. We always laugh about like trying to explain what this podcast is because it's so not an elevator pitch, but I think you just gave us our elevator pitch. I love that. Self-concept and Disney.
Yeah,
that's great. And sometimes the two go together, which maybe we'll get into a little bit today, because for those of you who have been around since 10, 12 years ago, back in the Disboards days, Lia was also on the Disboards and we used to read each other's trip reports. So we found each other back in 2010, which is 11 long years ago.
Couldn't be more thankful that I decided to do that.
Same, honestly.
I feel like all of us say that. Genuinely, that kind of isolated place at that moment in time and that place we were at in our lives kind of did bring us so many like lifelong friends that just get us on another level about Disney, and we've come to find about a lot of other things too. So I'm excited that you're here, and I'm just loving the theme for this month so much.
I'm honored. You guys didn't tell me that was like the theme of the month. When I heard that, I was like, oh my, like that's me. Yay.
Absolutely. That's you. I think Lia has been one of my most inspiring friends. I mean, we've had a very long friendship, but you've always been someone who follows your heart and your intuition. I always thought that was so incredible. And I'm like, wow, I love that you follow what your soul tells you to do and you don't go by like society's status quo. So it just makes sense to have you here on this episode today, because I think Kristen and I both believe, based on, past episodes that we've created, that this is a really great thing to tap into during the course of life, and like unraveling all those limitations that society puts on us, and evolving into your highest self is like the greatest gift that you can give your soul during this lifetime. So we compiled a ton of really great questions for Lia. We are going to talk about a whole variety of things. So buckle up and get ready for a really fun and interesting conversation. I'm just so excited to get started.
Yay.
So I guess I'll just kick it off. We're going to
get into it.
Let's get into it. So the first question we have for you, Lia, is that we would love to just get a little bit of your background, a nice summary. Where did you grow up and what do you do now? And what were your interests when you were younger that sparked your current path that you're living on now?
So I am from New Jersey. I was born and I spent a lot of time in Bergen County, which is like right, if anyone doesn't know, it's like right on the edge across the Hudson River from Manhattan. So then when I was growing up for a lot of years, I lived in Northwest New Jersey, totally different. They sell hay on the side of the road for $1, farms, like not kidding.
Love it.
People always think I'm joking, and then like I'll bring them home because it is a very like lovely town, and we will start driving and it'll say, hey, $1. And I'm like, I told you.
Hey, what a steal.
Honestly. So yes, I was always itching to get back to the New York City area because that town was like an hour away. And I'm much closer now. And my whole life, everything since day one, birth, obsessed with entertainment, everything about it, movies, TV, theater, books, everything just was my only thing. I have never wanted to do anything else. I never had an interest that was as strong for anything. So that led me to where I am now, because I am an entertainer. So thank God it worked out. So yeah, I mean, I think that's basically the background.
I love that you knew from a young age, like it was very clear and definitive what your heart was calling you to do. So we're going to get into a little bit more of the specifics of what Lia does throughout the podcast, but I think that really sets us up for what's to come.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, I mean, a lot of children have hobbies that they enjoy. And then as they get older and they sort of have to start thinking about like, okay, what do I want to do with my life? You sort of question like, is this hobby something I want to pursue as a career? But a lot of people don't have that sense of like imperturbable clarity about what they want to do. And just to have it from such a young age and just to know and pursue it so fiercely. I mean, that's hugely inspiring to me. And I'm sure so many other people too, because I've done a lot of the self-doubt thing over the years. Like, oh, is this actually the right decision? Am I doing something wrong? But just to pursue something head first and let everything, like let the details figure themselves out as you go, I think is probably such a huge contribution to the success you have now, which we will get into. But first, I would love if you could explain a little bit more about your love for Disney specifically and how that connected all of us so very long ago.
Sure. So my parents, bless them, they took me to Disney for my 5th birthday. I still remember it. I remember it so well. And
Lia has the best memory, by the way. So that helps a lot.
I remember everything. So don't test me. So yeah, I just fell in love with it. And then my parents would take me like every 2 years, which obviously is a huge, huge, huge privilege. But for me as a child, I didn't realize that. I was just like, I want to go more. And so like, as soon as I turned 18, I started going, and I would just like meet friends or whatever. And then I just started to appreciate it on a higher level. Probably when I was like 10 or 12, I started really like reading books about it, and I would copy down everything in the books. I would write down every attraction, every restaurant, every hidden Mickey, and I would like check them off as I went along. And I was just fascinated by it. And my dream was to be just so familiar with the parks that it felt more like home. Like I didn't want to feel as though every time I went, I had to go and get everything done. Anxiety, like I want to see everything. And that ended up happening because of Jess, because Jess moved there and became a cast member. And then it was so much easier to go, and having someone there that was so enthusiastic about let's get up at 7 a.m. and then get back to the room at 3 and then get up every day and do it again. And I started writing my trip reports in 2010. And that's what brought us together. I'm so happy I decided to do it because I was in a really dark place at the time. I've dealt with depression on and off since I was 14. So I wasn't really doing anything like that. 2010 trip was like the highlight of my year. And doing the report really gave me an outlet. It was kind of like a job. Like I would get up every day and I would write and I would edit photos, and it was a creative outlet. It was a way to meet people and talk to people that felt the same way about Disney that I did. And so it was so comforting because then I had all these friends. And then I had, thankfully, I'm so happy that Miss Little Outgoing Jess was like, I love you. Like from day one, she was like, I love these reports. I love you. And she's like, you're so good at writing. You're so funny. And I was just on one of my trips in Disney and she DM'd me and she's like, I'm in Disney too. Want to meet up? And I was like, yes. And from then on, we've just been like so close.
Oh my gosh. I definitively remember because, on Disboards, you were always trying to find a new report. So I was like just scrolling through and like, you just want one that hits you right, like that like gets you really engaged and like is an interesting story. And I was sitting in my college dorm, which, was my first semester of college, which was a really tough time for me as well. And I found Lia's report and I just remember laughing like to myself because the way she worded things was just so funny and so descriptive. And it made me fall in love with Disney even more because I just got your perspective of it. And I was like, I need to be friends with this girl. Like, I want to go to Disney with her. Like, I don't even know why I feel like that, but like, we need to be friends. Like, she just gets it. So, yeah, we like met up in Epcot for the first time and watched Illuminations. And you were probably like, who the heck is this girl? Like, does she actually want to like hang out and be friends? Like, we're internet strangers. But then here we are 10 years later and like traveled together and still stay in touch all the time. So
I'm so happy because I remember, this is so funny, but I wasn't someone who met a lot of people from the internet or anything. And my mom totally wasn't. And I was in Disney with my mom and I told her, I was like, I have this online friend and like her and her mom are here. And I remember saying to her, like, if they're weird, we can just say that we have like a reservation or something. And it turned out that like we all four of us got along perfectly immediately, and they were literally rolling out the dumpsters in Epcot because we stayed, I'm so sorry, cast members, we stayed so late, and they were like, you know how they're not allowed to ask you to leave, but they clearly were like, we're closed, you know. We just kept talking. We didn't even realize that everyone else left.
Yeah, it was fun.
I love that. I love when you're having a conversation with someone and you don't realize how much time has passed. But I think that that's a really good testament to how to make friends as an adult too. Like, you just have to be bold. If you find someone, you meet them on, you know, whether it's on Disboards or you find someone on Instagram that you follow and you just really align with them or click with them, like, slide into their DMs. Like, I think what brought us friends as children is the same thing that brings us friends as an adult. You go up to a kid at school or at dance class or whatever, and you say like, hi, my name is Kristen. Do you want to be my friend? Like, that's essentially what you need to do as an adult. Like, just be bold. The worst thing that they can say is like, oh, we actually have reservations. Sorry. And then they can leave if they think you're weird. But if they click with you, then there you go. You got a lifelong friend.
I am very long-winded and detailed in how I write. And I knew that it wasn't going to be for everybody. And I remember thinking like, who's going to read this? Like, I would write the longest chapter about like a 2-minute experience. But I was just like, well, I have nothing to lose. Who cares? Like, if no one reads it, this isn't like a performance at Carnegie Hall. Like, I'll just, not everything has to be like perfect. So I just put it all out there because all the details in Disney, all the design stuff, all of the things that make it truly magical that other places do not focus on, Disney really cares about details and making that pristine experience for everybody. And it just really, really connected with me and still affects my life greatly. And so writing about it in that much detail, I think a lot of people probably wouldn't. But I'm so happy that I did because it ignited something in you. And now we're still friends all these years later.
Yeah. And honestly, like, just reading those details made me, I don't know, sort of like visualize and like get into this space with Disney where I was like falling in love with it from afar again, because it's like you're thinking about it and you're seeing it in your mind and you're like activating all your senses. Like, you were describing like details in Animal Kingdom and the architecture and like the different foods. And it just made me so excited to go back there and then connect with people who got it. And we all know how life has turned out since then. So Disboards, your trip reports, and many others definitely influenced my life over here. And I think we all kind of influenced each other's lives. And I think that is so beautiful.
Yes.
It's just so cool.
Yes. I love that so much.
It's amazing. All right. So let's transition out of Disney for just a brief moment, but we want to hear about your experience as an actor. Yes, Lia is an actor. We mentioned she's an entertainer. She does incredible things. So we consider acting as a very extraordinary career path. So we want to hear about your experience and your realities with that.
Well, I went on my first audition when I was 7 and I was swiftly rejected, which led to a lifetime of that. And and I loved it. I loved every second of it. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I could not believe that I was allowed to. It was because it was for theater. It was the Christmas Carol or a Christmas Carol. And I had to sing, dance, and act in the audition. And I still remember I was so, like, it didn't even really matter that I didn't get it because I was just so happy that I got to perform in front of someone who wasn't my long suffering parents were like, can we please have some alone time? Right now, my focus is more acting, but I've had different phases of it because I consider myself more an actor who also sings and dances. But at different times in my life, I was always doing different shows. I would do like singing competitions, or, if the school choir was doing a show, I would not just be in it, but I would like beg the director so that I could do a solo. And I was a competitive dancer for a while, so that was really fun. I still love dance so much, but I think out of the three, the one that I excel at the most is acting. And I've always been more captivated, I think, by film acting than theater acting. But then I decided to get a theater degree, which was a little bit later. I didn't go like right when I was 18. So that was kind of a transition for me, because I was a very like arrogant little brat I was like, I'm not going to college. Like, I'm an actor. I'm just going to hit the pavement and audition. And then I realized I wanted to go to college, and I had the most amazing college experience. So I'm so happy that I did that. Don't limit yourself, or the opposite too. Like, college might not be for you, so don't limit yourself that way. But I felt it calling me, so I ended up having the best experience. And now I am really focusing on film and TV, but I also run my own entertainment company. So I do that. So that's kind of like my survival job, so to speak, but it's not really, because I love it so much and it's really fun and creative, and I get to perform every weekend. And honestly, during the week a lot now. I don't have any other job that I do. So it's just been a roller coaster.
What a journey.
Wow. I like the idea of not limiting yourself either way, even when you feel so strongly about what you're meant to do with your life. That doesn't mean that you should just close yourself off to the idea that other things can come up and present themselves, whether it's a hobby or a different job or a degree in something or multiple degrees in something. I mean, there are people who have degrees in like 3 different things, and then they don't end up using any of them and they do something else. So it's important now, especially with the resources being more and more accessible, and the fact that you can get a degree online and things like that, just to not limit yourself there. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's really about like tuning into the moment of like, okay, what's going to serve me best right now? Like, what was going to serve you when you were 18 isn't going to be what's going to serve you a few years later. And, as you go on. So it was really great that you were able to tune into that and be like, actually, this is gonna be great. Like, I'm never going to say never about that.
Yeah.
And I'm open to something different than what I thought in the past. And, it led you here, and you talk really highly of your college experience. And I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because people who knew me when I was younger, they would be shocked that I not only would go, but that I would be so in love with my college experience. But I think I'm naturally rebellious. It's like a problem I deal with. Still, you would think I outgrew it, but I did not. I still am so rebellious. It's my first thought in my mind is always the rebellious thought. And then I have to kind of pull myself back and be be an adult and try to not react that way. But I mean, the most rebellious thing is rebelling against your own rule of I'm not doing this. And then it's like, there might actually be a lot of benefits to it, and I think it's a shame that you're supposed to, I just did the quote hands, go when you're 17, 18. I'm so thankful my parents didn't force me like a lot of parents do, because I would never have appreciated it at that time. And I would have been so unhappy. I would have been angry. I would have been like, I don't want to do this, mom and dad. And it just would have been, it just wouldn't have been right. I had to wait until I stepped into it myself.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Making the decision for yourself. Imagine the difference of how much more enriching it is between being forced and choosing it yourself. And
Yeah.
I really do wish that it was more of a norm in our society to make that choice for yourself, because living this status quo and this cookie cutter path that we're all sold is not going to be a one size fits all for everybody. And it's wonderful that you were able to step out of that what I should do sort of path and make your own. And it really ended up helping you blossom in the long run. So
yeah,
that's just inspiring in itself. That one little segment of the story,
And it did bring so many entertainment opportunities. Like I would have thought, the real opportunities are just hitting the pavement in New York and LA and doing all of that. But I actually, through that, I became a company member at a comedy club because one of my acting teachers decided I don't even know how old she was, maybe like 56 or something like that, to start a comedy empire.
Wow.
Women. So
amazing.
And, you know, she had some people that were the founding members and I was like, oh, I'm not as good as them. I would never be able to be a company member. And so I didn't even go to the audition because I was so intimidated. And then she was having a second audition and she texted me and she was like, hey, why didn't you come to the audition? And I was like, I don't know. They're so good. And she was like, you have to come. I was like, okay. And then it ended up being one of the biggest blessings of my life. And I have friends that are so dear to me from there that I love and talk to constantly and work on projects with all the time. I mean, it led to so many things. It led to, a lot of people probably don't know what this is, but medical stimulation acting or standardized patient acting, which is helping to train med school students. So they give me like a list of symptoms and something that I have. And then I sit down with somebody who's pre-med as if I'm going into their office, and it helps them with their bedside manner and in figuring out, you know, what's wrong with people. They might tell you, oh, your character is hiding something or whatever. So a doctor has to kind of like figure that out. And I mean, I never, ever would have thought that would be a job.
That
And
is so interesting.
It's amazing. It
I
really
didn't know that
is.
either.
It's like wild how many different, you know, so many people say, oh, you're an actor, that's hard, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, there are more opportunities than in a lot of fields. You just have to not limit yourself. If you say, I'm not going to go down this one path, don't let that door be closed forever because you never know what it's going to lead to.
Wow. That is so cool. I didn't know about that one.
Really?
Yeah, you never told me
no
that.
idea.
There are too many things to tell you about.
Honestly, your life is just so interesting. So much variety, really.
You basically just segued us right into our next question, which is great because usually I'm over here racking my brains for the segue, but Leah brought the segue. Since being an actor is a sort of off the beaten path career for a lot of people, and since our society does kind of have this construct in place where you have to go to college as soon as you finish high school, or being an actor is sort of laced with these connotations of like, you're going to have to get a full-time serving job just to make ends meet, or whatever the stereotypes are. What is your best advice from your years of experience for handling those people who make comments or project their own insecurities onto you when you tell them what you do?
It's really difficult. I feel it's really hard. I was just telling Jess this yesterday, but I used to think that it was great that I was the friend who would always encourage people. So if somebody would say something to me like, oh, I want to change my career, I want to go get a master's, but it's $150,000 and I have nothing in the bank right now, my response would be like, if your heart is calling you to do it, you have to do it. This is it. You have to do it. I know it seems impossible, but take one step, like dip your toe in, and someday you'll be in the pool and it won't even feel freezing cold anymore. It'll feel comfortable. You just have to take a step because you never know what might happen. You never know what anything could happen. Anything could come together in a certain way that you never expect. We can only have so much in our human brains at one time. I mean, I come up against so many people that are just like, I can't do that. You don't know what you're talking about. Or they'll be like, maybe you can do that. Oh, maybe your job is fun because you're an entertainer. And I'm like, well, do you think the only people that enjoy their jobs are entertainers? What a sad world that would be. I was like, I know all kinds of people that love their jobs. And, you know, I even had a roommate who was like, she was just like, well, nobody likes their job. So I just need to find something that like pays. And I told her, girl, I love my job. Oh, but you're an actor. That's different. Okay, well, why am I different? I mean, I feel like people will always say, well, you are doing it, but that's different. That's you. Like, I can't. And I used to think that was such a good thing to be encouraged. But now I think that when I encourage people to do things, or when I tell people about an advancement in my own life, they get uncomfortable because they've already put themselves in a box that says, I have this dream, but it's not possible. So they take the pressure off themselves to try it. And then when I come in and say, you can do it, it illuminates, oh, I maybe I could do it, but it's going to be really hard. It's going to cost a lot of money. I'm going to have to move. I'm going to have to be away from my boyfriend or my parents or my wife or my, oh, I don't think I can do it. You know, oh, nobody makes it in this kind of career, things like that. And they will put that back onto me. So if I say, oh, well, you know, I have a new agent, I'm really excited. It's like, oh, well, are you sure they're legit? And I'm thinking, well, of course they're legit. You know what I mean? Of course, you know, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to sign with some guy who has a briefcase on the side of the road. Like, you know what I mean? Come on, give me some credit. So I think with people, you just have to remember that most of the time, 99% of the time, it's not personal. Anything anybody does to you is a reflection of their own soul and what they're going through. And if somebody is throwing those limiting beliefs at you, not in an arrogant way, but just have empathy and just be like, this person, like, I'm so lucky that I'm in a place where I don't limit myself like that. And this person is in some sort of pain or they wouldn't be doing that. So just remember, everybody's a person for some reason. I don't know why. I'm so thankful, but for some reason I was given this like determination and this flame and this I've always just been convinced I can do it. How that's a privilege. Not everybody has that privilege. Some people will never have it. Some people need to grow into it and step into it at a certain time. So I guess just patience is the short answer to that long response.
Yeah. No, that was great. I mean, yeah, I think if you're pursuing a career in acting or you're a dancer or you're an artist or like any of those unconventional career paths that aren't as widely accepted in our capitalist society, I think that's great advice to keep in your back pocket.
Well, what I hear from people a lot is people will be like, oh, I used to do theater in high school, or I was always the star of my local dance company or whatever. I wish I could do what you do, but I just can't. Or, oh, I wish I could do that. And I say, well, I don't have a magic wand. Like, I don't have a famous mom or dad. I don't have a rich mom or dad. I have certain privilege. I definitely have white privilege, but aside from that, I don't really have any kind of advantage. Even recently, I've made certain connections and my wheels are turning and I'm like, oh, wow, this is what some people have when they're really, really young. And that's why they get on the Disney Channel when they're 13 or something like that. Like, I didn't have anything like that. So for me, it's just like blind persistence. And I'm like, you can do it too. That's because that also makes people insecure because they think, oh, Lia must have something that I don't have. That's how come she can do that. I mean, I have determination. I have like fortitude, which is major, but I don't have somebody saying, oh, let me just hook you up with that audition. Never.
Yeah. Yeah. Your resilience is like driving the car of your life.
I'm like, please help me.
It's amazing though. I mean, it's proof like when you are able to like get clear about what you want and continually like invest the energy in the direction of that, even if you're just throwing darts at the wall, even if there's no particular outcome, like you're making forward movement and you never know where that's going to lead. Like you might end up taking a detour that's this crazy, amazing, beautiful experience. And it might not be like, oh, this is like my ideal dream kind of thing, but it's so fulfilling and enriching. And it's an experience that you just get to take with you in your whole like repertoire of your life. And it adds to your story.
That's so true about the detours. I think one of the best cliche sayings is shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll land among the stars.
Yeah.
Because all the little things that I mentioned that I've done, I never would have thought that would have been the outcome. And I think a lot of people, again, with limiting beliefs, because I'm not a movie star, people think of me as, well, when is this acting thing gonna like happen? Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? What's the next step? And again, I'm like, okay, so you're someone who thinks that people have to achieve a certain amount of success by a certain age and fit into the box that you've imagined of what an actor is. So you think because I'm not Angelina Jolie that I'm not a successful actor, which is not true. So there's so many other things. And of course, if somebody said, would you like to star in a movie? I would say, yes, ma'am, please. But in some ways, I'm happy that that didn't happen when I was 18 or 19 or something, because I've gotten all these amazing opportunities and I wouldn't know all the people that I know now. And I wouldn't have worked with all the people that I've worked with. I wouldn't have been able to work in hospitals as an actor. I don't know if I would have been somebody who's a professional comedian. I mean, like there are so many things I've gotten to do and I feel so blessed for every part of the journey. And I don't feel like my 10-year-old self who wanted to be Julia Roberts would be disappointed that I'm not. I think my 10-year-old self would be like, you're so cool.
Yeah.
You know?
So we were talking yesterday about Jim Carrey, and I really loved the story that you told me about his dad. Could you maybe just tell that story really quick to like close out this question? Because I think it really drives the point home.
Sure. Jim, my soul brother. If you're listening, Jim, call me.
Oh my God.
So Jim Carrey had these dreams to be a comedian. And obviously he was so funny and everyone around him felt that way. But he grew up in a small town in Canada and was told, you're not going to be a comedian. Come on. And he had a father who was extremely funny as well. And he totally credits his father for everything. He says, all the voices I do, all the crazy faces, the physical comedy, all of that stuff, that's my dad. I got that all from my dad. And his dad had a normal job and wanted to do other things, but just basically decided to take the path that you're told is the right path and go to work every day, have a salary, get food on the table for your family, and neglect yourself. And he worked so hard at it. He poured everything into it. And then one day he came home and he had been fired. And Jim realized, I need to put everything into comedy because I could very well fail. Maybe everybody's correct. But my dad put everything into a job he hated and he still failed and still got rejected. So if I get rejected, at least I will have put everything into something that I love. So I might as well bust my ass trying to make this happen so that I don't dedicate my life to something that still is going to reject me, because every career is hard. If you haven't noticed, nobody in your life, when you ask, how's your career going, or how's your job, or how was your college experience or anything, no one says, oh my God, it was so easy. I got into my top college. I aced all of my classes. I got my dream job. I got promoted. I run the company now and everything's perfect. No one says that. I mean, even the people that I know that have the best jobs, they're always like, my boss or whatever. And it's so true. And he decided to write himself a $10 million check that he signed to himself. And he kept it in his wallet. And of course, everyone was like, LOL, like that's not going to happen. At the time he had maybe $10, never mind 10 million. And he did end up getting paid $10 million. And then more. He ended up getting paid more per movie. But that literally came true. He got a $10 million paycheck, I think, for Dumb and Dumber. Mm-hmm. So don't limit yourself, and I'm sure even when I'm telling that story that like people are probably thinking, oh, well, that's Jim. He's so talented. I'm not like that. It's like, if you decide that you aren't, then maybe you aren't, but he decided he was worthy of $10 million for one job. So
we're all the same species. Like,
yep.
We're all human beings. So it could be, it could be you.
Before Jim Carrey was Jim Carrey, he was just Jim.
He was just Jim,
It's just Jim. Jim from Canada.
Canada Jim.
Oh my God.
With his big dreams and his $10 million check.
Okay, so next, in addition to working in like film, television, theater, you also own your own company, Once Upon a Princess, based out of New Jersey. So let's give it a little shout out. Can you tell us the story of how you began the company and just anything you've learned along the way on this journey? Because I know it's a huge part of you.
Oh my God, it really, the official title is Once Upon a Princess Parties, NJ. And I always loved Disney movies and Disney princesses and stuff. And I felt like I got a lot of signs. I believe in signs from the universe and stuff like that. So
as do we.
Of course.
Yes.
So I would be in Disney with you or whatever, and people would say things to me as if I was performing as one of the princesses. They wouldn't even ask. They would just say it to me. Or, maybe because I was with a cast member, other cast members would just be like, and where do you work? Or things like that. And I always just shrugged it off. And then I always thought it would be fun to be a princess, but I always wanted to stay in New York, and if not New York, LA, like I always wanted to pursue film and TV, which is difficult to do in Orlando. Even Anaheim is, with traffic far from Hollywood. So I just never took it seriously. And then I decided to go on a couple of auditions for Disney because they're in New York. Why not add it to my list? And I would get rejected at first. Then I started making all the cuts. And then I would make it past all the cuts and they would be like, okay, we'll call you if whatever. And I never was called. And I just thought like, okay, that's not my path, whatever. But there was still something in me that was like, it was like scratch. You know how Steven Spielberg always says that the biggest steps in your life, the biggest dreams, they don't start with a yell, they start with a whisper. It's like as if someone's tapping you on the shoulder saying like, you can do that, or like, that's right for you. But it's so easy to just say like, shut up, because it's so quiet. And you wish it was loud and shaking your shoulders, but it's not. So it took me years to come to this. And then one day I was at my dad's friend's child's birthday party. I hadn't seen this man in years. My dad randomly was like, hey, I'm going to this party. Do you want to come? I was like, I guess. And I went, didn't know anybody there. And all of a sudden, some Anna and Elsa inspired characters walk in. And I don't mean this in a shady way at all, because they were wonderful, but I remember watching them and thinking I could do that and I could do it better. And I just started applying to companies, and I thought none of them were going to call me. None of them were hiring. I just literally Googled Princess Parties, New Jersey, and I applied to maybe 8 companies, and I just emailed their booking email, and I got 5 responses almost immediately. And I was just, okay, weird. And I ended up doing 3 interviews, and I got to choose the person I wanted to work with. And her name was Melissa. And she was a former cast member, and we are still friends to this day. And she still works with us. That was in spring of 2015. I started working with her, and she really had a focus on quality. She definitely wasn't doing it for money. She was doing it out of the love of it, the love of children, love of the princesses. And so she started it in late 2013 with one dress, the Belle inspired gown, and built her way up to like 25 costumes by the time I started.
Wow.
And so I performed for her while I was pursuing everything else and in college for about 3.5 years. And then in I think 3 years ago exactly, she just did a group chat to all of us and was like, oh, I'm selling the company. I can't do it anymore, because she became a nurse and it was just way too much. And it was one of the very few moments in life where there's just razor sharp clarity. I was like, I'm going to do it. And I just went out of the group chat, texted her privately, and I was just like, I'll do it. And I was like, I'll buy the company. I had no money. Okay. But I said, I will buy the company. The delusion. And she actually was like, oh, there's somebody else who's in line to do it. And this is nothing against that person. She's a wonderful person, but I knew she wasn't going to do it. I can't tell you how. I knew it wasn't going to work out. I was completely unafraid of losing the company. I was like, it's mine. I know it. I already started preparing. I started making lists, making plans. I knew I was going to do it. And lo and behold, she texted me a few days later and she's like, oh, it's not going to work out with her. She gave me the price that she was requesting. She said, you can do a down payment and then pay monthly. And I was like, I don't care what it is. And when I tell you I had no money, how some people say that, but they really had like $2,000 or something in the bank. I did not have any money because I had been fulfilling another dream, which was starring in one of my favorite musicals, American Idiot. And it was just a local production. So I was getting paid nothing. And I also couldn't work because I had rehearsal every single day. So I had no money, like when I tell you this. And so I just had to like really, 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 really hustle so hard. I had to go back. Retail's always been like my survival acting job rather than waitressing. And so I went back to retail. I just focused. I knew I was going to do it. I mean, I just dove in head first. I was not afraid. I was not nervous, even though I had no business experience, nothing. I was like, I know how to do this, period. And I completely drowned. Well, almost. I would wake up at 4 a.m. with anxiety, and that never happened to me before. I would wake up as if somebody shook me awake, like, get up, get up, get up, like do everything now. And it was I never experienced that before. And I remember one day just like sobbing to my friend, like I just lost it. And I was just like, this person pulled out of an event and this costume is ripped and this wig, I can't get it to look nice. And this isn't working out and I'm not booking this thing I wanted. And this customer's mad at me. And this mom said this. And I was just like, oh my God. And so what I did was I shut off our marketing so that it was only like word of mouth. And I did at the beginning of 2019 in January and February, I think I did maybe like one party a weekend. And I just wanted to optimize a low amount of work before I grew the company. Because as soon as, when you work for someone, of course you fantasize like, well, if I was the boss, I would do this and that. And that's nothing against Melissa. She changed my life. I would not be here without her. And she set such an amazing precedent for the company. But of course, just two different people have two different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And so at first I was like, I'm going to do this and that, and I'm going to add these characters, and I'm going to add this package and change this and get a new costume for this. And then I completely freaked out, completely downsized. And then it was the exact right thing to do, because once I optimized one party a weekend, then I turned on marketing again. And then I started to build up and build up and build up and, work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and all of these different bigger companies. And we do not just kids parties, but we do big events as well and things like that. And then I started adding characters, and then I started adding to the team. And it's just been going and going and going ever since.
Wow. I don't even know what gumption has to live within your soul to just say yes to something like that, like knowing full well what it entails. I mean, that's bold and brave, and clearly it worked out because you knew, in your soul that it was the right thing to do. But that's like mind-boggling to me. That's amazing.
Well, I also got lucky because Melissa, I had known her for 3.5 years at that point. So I didn't when I told her I would buy the company, I didn't have the money on that day. So I had to keep telling her like, I will have the money by this time. And I had done this commercial that I was like emailing them, because sometimes commercials, like you have to stay on top of them to get your money. And it was just like, she trusted me. If it was a random stranger, they might've been like, you don't have the money, goodbye. So it was so much orchestration, and I got so lucky. Like there's always so many people that contribute to the success of something,
Yeah, absolutely.
And the costumes that you have for your company are so incredibly accurate, because we all know a lot of princess party companies have an interesting reputation, but I really think that you, because of your love for the parks and the experience that you've had and the details that you've picked up over the years, like you really make it a mission to make it as accurate as possible. And that to me is like a huge deal. So
thank you.
The costumes they really are beautiful.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, because I Disney calls it character integrity, which I completely agree with their whole philosophy behind that. But I just think of it as normal integrity of just having respect for children, which a lot of people don't have, but children watch those movies 5,000 times.
Yeah.
They know every detail. They know what she looks like. They know the details on the costume, the hair. They know every detail of the movie, everything she says in the movie, they know it. And so I've had some situations where I had a really crazy party and then I have to go right to the next one. And if there's like, my hair's a little messy, I've had somebody say to me like, why is your hair messed up? Like, and I do see some girls go out, and it's not the performer's fault. It's the company owner in these Halloween wigs that they got that come in the little bag. Mm-hmm. And I think some people see it as an easy way to make money, and it's not. It's so hard, but it's so worth it, because when you walk into a room and you see that child notice you, recognize you, and their face explodes, it's worth every single hour that you spend. I mean, I've literally like had to compile costumes piece by piece myself because I wasn't satisfied with something that was being made. And I would order things, and then they come and I don't like them, and I have to start completely over, and it takes me weeks, and it takes so much money. I have so many things custom made. They take months to come. I tell all my employees, like, if you cause any issue with a costume or a wig, I cannot just go to Target and buy a new one. We will be out of commission with this character for months. It's such a big deal, but it's so, so, so completely worth it.
I love the intricacy.
I agree.
The care you have. That's what makes it an authentic experience for the kids, and that's what matters.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about the respect. I mean, that respect for children. No one can see it, but I was like waving my hands in the air.
Kristen's praising the Lord over there.
It's so true. It's so true. They know every single detail. They will tell you or make a note of something. They notice everything. And I know that Disney feels this way, and I'm so just like thrilled that you run your company this way too. But to pay attention to those details for the children who love these stories so much, and to hire people and operate in such a way that propagates that integrity is so huge. And that is a thing that I have always cared about a lot. And
Of course, yeah.
You'd forget about the children, and parents will say what parents will say, but the kids know everything. And they see everything too.
Yeah. And just because somebody else's standards are low, I don't want to say bad companies, but some of the companies that use less quality costumes, I'll look at their reviews, and most of their reviews are 5 stars, just like mine. And I think, why do I kill myself? Oh, why do I spend 3 hours fixing a wig that doesn't even look that bad to begin with? And I just think, because it's integrity. It's just having respect for people that are paying you to do a service. I feel honored that somebody wants to invite me into their home to spend time with their children. That's an intimate thing. And I always try to focus on the kindness in the stories, because regardless of any criticism that people might have about the princess stories, which are definitely out there, I always feel like the basis of every story is kindness. And I try to bring it back to that. And I just feel like you're having such a big influence on a child. Like they see you as everything, and it's a lot of pressure, but it's not just the look either. It's the story, it's the acting. I always hire trained actors. I always hire people with experience, because you don't want someone who just puts on a dress and is nice to kids. Every princess has a different personality. If you are doing Sleeping Beauty in the morning, and then you are doing our Ariel inspired mermaid character later in the day, that should be a completely different person. They shouldn't even be able to tell it's you,
I love that. We could talk about this all day, Lia.
Forever. Truly.
So kind of going back to the larger conversation of your career path and just all of the ups and downs that come along with it, do you have any tools that you use during the times of uncertainty, especially probably in the last year and a half, that keep you in the space of trusting the next step of your journey, even when it's sort of unclear?
I think that I'm really blessed, because I love what I do. And that always brings me back. I've done shows for like 10 people, and some people would just dismiss that, and I don't. I always say that I do every performance as if it's the Beatles at Shea Stadium, because you never know who's going to be there watching you. You never know who you're going to inspire, what's going to happen, who's going to appreciate you, who needs what you're doing and doesn't even know it. And you need to get the same amount of satisfaction from something that doesn't work out as something that does. So you need to, I guess I'm just using Angelina Jolie because she's a big star, everybody knows, but like, you need to act as though that is who you are, because even though it's not, you have to have a lifelong commitment to it. So there's a lot of people that think that you need to have a certain amount of success by a certain age in every field. And there's a lot of people, they'll like talk about me as if I want to be an actor. And like, I'm still trying to like do it, because they have that idea in their head of the superstar, of the Oscar winner. And so I think that instead of thinking it as a sprint, I think of it as a marathon. So I am an actor. Like, I am an actor for life. I was an actor as soon as I started acting. If you write something, you are a writer. Like, you can't say, once I get to this point, that validates me. There, some actors, they do this thing. John Hamm from Mad Men did this. So he was like, if I don't become like a series regular or have a steady acting job within 5 years, I think this was when he was like 30, then I will quit and go back home. He was a teacher. So he's like, I'll just go be a teacher again. And I think he did get Mad Men like right at the end of that. But what if he hadn't? What if he had got Mad Men when he was 36 and he stopped and gave that opportunity up? Just think about that. You have to think of it as, I'm an actor. I will always be an actor. There are going to be peaks and valleys, and I'm not in it to get a certain amount of fame or money it's so funny that people connect acting with like being a millionaire or something, because 98%, that's an actual figure, of actors do not support themselves fully from their acting career. Okay. So instead of thinking of that as, oh my God, that's horrible, you have to think of that as, well, this is my lifelong journey. This isn't my means to an end.
Yeah. It's like not living for the outcome. It's living for the process and enjoying the peaks and valleys of it. And you're going to have happy days. You're going to have tear-filled days, but at your core, you're able to claim, this is who I am. And I know I am an actor. And saying I am whatever is such a powerful statement, because it really connects you to your life purpose and your soul. And like, that's why I'm always very conscious of what I claim myself to be, because it could be, I am an actor, I am a performer, or it could be like any other quality, like I am kind, I am caring, or I am stupid. It's very important to see what you're claiming as your truth. So even if you're not like a quote unquote successful professional in whatever field that you're going into, like you are still able to claim that you are whatever your dream is, because that's what is speaking through your heart.
I love what you said about getting as much satisfaction from something that works out as something that doesn't. And that just like smacked me in the face, to be honest. And it's so, I'm going to remember that. It's so true. We're all so satisfied when we accomplish a task, or if your GPA is great, or you pay off your car, or whatever those like adult milestones are, we're like satisfied and we feel that we've reached some sort of validating pinnacle. But then something else comes along and redoubles it. And people are always saying, oh, I'm afraid to be happy because every time I feel like I'm happy, I feel like something bad happens. Those are the peaks and valleys. Like, it's not that because you've decided to be happy, something bad is happening. It's just that life is both of those things. So to be willing to feel that steady satisfaction throughout, because you know that when you put one foot in front of the other every day, like that's like all you're supposed to be doing.
There is no quitting. Like, you don't, if I, for whatever reason, did decide that I didn't want acting to be my main thing anymore, or the main pursuit, I still would be doing community theater at night or something, or, you know, anything like that. That's why I started this answer by saying I'm so blessed because I really love it. A lot of people get into it because it's fun, or because they did one good role and they got a lot of praise for it and that felt really good, so they think it's going to continue. And for most people it doesn't, or they think they're going to be rich, or they think they're going to be famous, and that doesn't happen right away. And then they're like, oh my God, I'm a failure. Then they feel bad about themselves and the cycle starts. And it's just like, you just have to be like, you have to embody what you are.
Yeah. You're making me want to go do community theater.
Go do it.
There's something about just setting yourself aside and getting to become someone completely else and be in their story for a while. As someone who like was an avid reader growing up, and I just read book after book after book and like lost myself in these other worlds. It was sort of like getting to continue that, but bring it to life. And there is nothing cooler than that. You have the coolest job in the world. You just do.
Thank you. I feel that way too. That's why I feel like I'm lucky, because I truly have that love, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, all right, we're going to transition into our next question. So on the topic of, you know, self-concept.
Yes.
So Leah's very much into astrology, which, as are we. I'm like learning more about it recently, and it's just so interesting. But you've used astrology as a tool for self-discovery to learn more about yourself. So can you tell us what your sign is first off, and why you connect so much with it, and then how it reveals parts of yourself to you that assist you on this journey of life?
Absolutely.
She's like, I am ready for this question.
So anyone who's into astrology, if you've listened this far, you probably know that I'm an Aries, and I deeply, deeply, deeply relate to it. I am almost every single characteristic of the sign. And that is why I believe in astrology. So I completely understand that some people dismiss it off the bat, because they will say, oh, what sign am I? Let me look it up. Oh, I'm a Sagittarius. I don't feel like I always want to get away. I don't feel like I always want to travel. I'm a homebody. This is BS, you know? And I was the opposite. When I read the description of my sign, I was just like, has someone been filming me this whole time secretly? Like, what? I was just like, this is crazy. So there are maybe a few things about it that I don't identify with as much. And depending on how much you want to get into this, there's also like your main sign. When someone says, what's your sign? They're asking your sun sign, which is the position of the sun when you were born. There's also your moon sign, the position of the moon when you were born. And then there's also your rising sign, which changes every 2 hours. So you have to know your birth time for that one. So I'm a Libra moon and a Gemini rising, and I do identify with both of those, but nothing more than Aries. It's very, 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 very accurate. Each sign has a symbol, and Aries is the ram. So I have horns, and I am just very determined. I'm very ambitious. I can do anything. I'm extremely independent. So in relationships, it kind of manifests like, well, you should feel so special that I'm even dedicating so much time to you. Not because I'm so great, but because I'm so independent. I don't need you. So if you disrespect me, how dare you? You're one of the few people that I actually want to be around. Like I'm good. And my favorite thing to do is sit on my couch, eat, and watch a movie by myself. Like, so if I let you in, you better treat me right. And if you don't, goodbye. That's very Aries. And, we don't like to use our horns. Well, it takes rams a while. They back up first. They like give you a chance to do the right thing. But if we have to use them, we have to use them. And it's, Aries can be overbearing. Aries can be too much for a lot of people. I've heard that my whole life. Like one of my friends, I'll hang out with like a friend of a friend, and their friend will be like, we don't have to invite her every time or something. And so I have struggled with that throughout my life of being like too much, or, too loud, too intense. I'm always the most passionate person about anything. People spend their whole lives and careers doing something that they're not even close to as passionate about as me. And it'll be something that I barely am even interested in. Like, I'm not kidding. So if there's a group project and I'm interested in it, I'm automatically the leader. It's like, it just is. And things like that. So some people really don't relate to that because they just don't have that intensity and that fire. And I never expect anybody to be on that level, because I've been disappointed so many times. Because sometimes, I'll be talking to someone and they'll mention like my favorite movie. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I start talking about it for like a long time. And I eventually see them start to drift. And I'm like, oh, like, they just like this movie. Like, they don't have to talk about it for the next hour. They're fine. They can just move on to another topic. And I'm like, but did you see the deleted scene on the DVD? Why didn't they leave that in? And people are just like, I'm tired, and I'm not. So I'm just like, I'm ready to get passionate all the time. And that's probably like the most overwhelming Aries quality, is like the passion and the independence and the confidence probably are like the big three that I really connect with. And how I use it on my journey to self-discovery is like, I felt so validated when I read the description, because I was like, oh, okay, like there might be a reason. So like the position of the sun is why I'm like this. That's crazy. That's so interesting. And I really reject people who reject astrology, because I just feel like our universe is so vast and so infinite. And every night we look up at these beautiful stars that aren't even the ones we're seeing, aren't even there. They're 60 million years old, and there's all these planets and there's all these amazing galaxies, and we will never see even 1% of it. And you're telling me that this is impossible? I just don't believe that. So it definitely makes me feel like seen and part of a group. Like anytime I meet someone and they're like, oh, I'm an Aries, I'm like, yes, I love you. I'm like, I see you. I see your passion.
I feel like the title of your autobiography should be, You're Tired? I'm Not.
Honestly.
Sometimes people come to me with problems and I can't believe it's a problem. I'm like, just do it, and again, it's not coming from an arrogant place. Like, I don't think I'm better than other people because I do that. Sometimes I think it's like not good. Like sometimes I'm like, girl, you really could have examined that further. I think part of my Libra moon is like, I also sometimes can overthink things. So then it's like my ram is like, we talked about this, just do it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I feel like anytime I ask Leah an astrology question, you're able to just kind of like frame it in a way that makes it make sense. So
thank you. I'm still learning. There's so much to learn. I mean, it's
so much.
It's endless. I just interviewed an astrologer for my podcast and
drop the podcast name.
Well, if anyone else is super obsessed with pop culture like me, then you probably will recognize who the podcast is about. It's called the Ashley and Jessica Cast. So it's about Ashley and Jessica Simpson and all their pop culture pursuits, from film, TV, to music, of course, and everything else that they've done. And then a lot of the same pop culture of the time from like 98 to like 2005, 2006, like that we grew up in. So yeah, I focus on all of that. And I interviewed an astrologer. Her name is Elise Blaylock, and she does a podcast called Chart of Fortune that's about the birth chart of certain dates. So she gets into every detail on the chart and the Venus position, the Mercury position, and all that kind of stuff. And I can't talk intelligently about that yet. So she was blowing my mind, but it completely aligned with most of my personal characteristics and beliefs. And it was just fascinating. So it's endless.
So fascinating.
Before we get into our rapid fire questions, I would really love to know how you ultimately define success. And I think that this is such a loosely defined term that's so individual to everyone. So
success is a state of mind, I think, more than a tangible thing that you acquire. And I think that you should really let it be different for you. And I think the ultimate success is being comfortable with yourself, feeling comfortable in your own skin, comfortable at the place that you're at in life, comfortable in your career, comfortable in your relationship. And everyone says life exists outside of your comfort zone, but I feel like we're all like leaving our comfort zones so that we can go out and pursue all of these things that make us feel more like ourselves, so that we can kind of engage back into a comfort zone that feels more like us. You know, when everyone says like think outside of the box, it's like you don't want to ever limit yourself, but also being comfortable and content is really important into feeling like you have a fulfilled life. You know, people say money doesn't buy happiness. That's not true. If I went to the mall right now and bought a bunch of clothes, I would be very happy, but I wouldn't be content. So the happiness wears off. So you can buy it, but it's kind of like burning a $20 bill or something, you know, it's like creates a flame, but then it's gone. So I think the ultimate pursuit is contentment. I just want to feel like when I'm older and I'm, you know, kind of morbid to think about, but Aries, it's like when I'm on my deathbed, I don't want to sit there and say to myself, it's over. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Oh my goodness. Like that's the opposite of contentment, right? Who wants anxiety on their deathbed? And that is success to me, is when I will be able to look back on my life and say, and I already feel this way to an extent. Like I can look back on my life and say, wow, okay, I did what I wanted to do. I didn't follow what other people told me to do, even though advice from people can be very valuable. I don't think I'm the only person who knows anything, but I don't want to ever do something because somebody told me or because I thought that it was the right thing to do, but my heart didn't feel that way. So I think the ultimate success is like contentment with your overall path and how you chose to conduct your life.
I feel like if that was the socially widespread understanding of success, we would be living in a very different world.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was a wonderful journey of a podcast. And
yeah, I loved this.
I'm buzzing right now. So we're going to transition into the next segment of the podcasts that we always do when we have guests. You guys know the drill. We have 2 segments of rapid fire questions. One segment are rapid fire questions just for Lia particularly. And then, of course, the rapid fire questions we ask all of our rediscovered guests. So we're going to hop right in. First rapid fire question for Lia. What is your favorite project that you've ever worked on as far as like acting goes?
Oh, that's impossible to answer.
Top few.
Of course, I'm so proud of my company. And those are so many different characters that I get to do. I feel really blessed that my kind of survival gig is something where I get to act every weekend because I don't love the business side of it. I am creative minded all the way. I see numbers and I'm just like, no. If you're a creative person and you want to make money from your creations and you're freaking out about that, do it anyway. You can figure it out, get an accountant. They love numbers. So you don't have to do it. It's great.
Great advice.
Yeah. So I just feel really blessed because I feel like there's just so many there's so many different opportunities that you can create within your own company. So if I get bored with something or, you know, whatever, I can always just change it. I could always add a new character. I recently did my first superhero character, which I never thought I would be interested in, but I actually ended up having such a blast, you know. And then I never thought I would be a company member at a comedy club, and it's called Shout Out Rhino Comedy, Supper in New York. They're reopening. I'm more of an improv person, but they're doing stand-up right now. So I go see a stand-up show. That to me, like making money from doing comedy. Are you kidding me? If God came down from heaven and said, I can make you the smartest person in the world, the richest person in the world, the most beautiful woman in the world, the kindest heart in the world, the whatever, or I can make you the funniest, I would say, please make me the funniest person in the world. It would be, you know, like I said, I got to play What's Her Name in American Idiot. That's one of my favorite musicals. I did a series of shorts where I got to play Harley Quinn, which was so fun because she's a brat and she's she's violent and villainous and, you know, takes no prisoners. And that is the opposite of the, you know, because I'm getting a little tired of the like good girl thing. So I really want to play a lot of more roles of people that are a little bit more messed up than, say, Cinderella.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Well, I think you mentioned this earlier, but just one more time. Favorite type of performing?
Film acting. I haven't done a lot of it yet. I have not been blessed with those opportunities yet, but I know that they're coming. I just signed with a new agent, so we're focusing more on theatrical. I love theater. I love it. And I consider what I do with the Princess Performing to be theater, really, and like performance art.
Yeah.
But I really love when there's a close up on an actor and they're not even talking and you can see it all in their eyes. You can see it all in their face. And that's all that it is. It's like just the perfect orchestration of the story and the lighting and the actor and everything. And they don't need to do much, yet they're doing everything with the inner work. And that's what you see. So that's like my dream.
Yeah.
Well, that segues us into the next question. What would be your ultimate dream performance opportunity?
I really want to do, especially film, but TV as well, because TV basically is film now. There used to be a very big gap there where if you were a movie star, you wouldn't dare do a TV show. And now it's the opposite. The movie stars are desperate to do good TV on HBO or AMC or something. If I could be handed anything tomorrow, I would just want a steady career in film and TV with genuinely good roles in genuinely good things. So nothing that's just popular for the sake of popular or, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I really want to do timeless movies and TV, and it doesn't have to be a starring role. It could be the role just has to be good, whether it's supporting, starring, whatever it is. I just want to make things that are genuinely great. Sometimes I think of taking a job just because I'm like, oh, I need to work and like, I need more credits and stuff. And I think like I was on a movie once and I actually left it because I hadn't signed yet. And I thought, will I be proud to tell my friends and family to watch this? No. And so it was like a really low quality kind of movie. And I was just like, I don't love the script. It's just like, I want to be proud. I want to be able to come to you and be like, Jess, you have to see this. Not, you know, how sometimes your actor friends come to you and they're like, oh, it's not that good. And I'm only in it for 2 minutes. I don't want to have that, you know?
That's fair.
That's totally fair. It's the integrity piece coming back again. Disney princess you feel most connected to?
Rapunzel. I love her so much.
We knew that was coming.
I love her. She's not even a separate entity. Like it's not, she's just a part of me. I just love her so much. Obviously I loved the princesses growing up. When I was little, my favorites were Belle, Jasmine, and Ariel. Obviously I grew up in the 90s and they were
my favorites.
Everything.
And Renaissance.
Yes. Oh, that perfect Renaissance.
Immaculate.
I never thought that I would ever connect with a new princess that way, because by the time Tangled came out, I was grown up, right? And I still loved Disney movies. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're not just for kids. They have so much beautiful artistry and storytelling that's for everybody. But I never thought I would love it as much as Ariel or, Aladdin, like ever. And I remember watching Tangled and having a moment during the movie where I was just like, I don't ever want this movie to end. This is a perfect movie. This is everything about it. I mean, I could go on about like all the technicalities of the movie that I think are genius, but I won't. As far as the character of Rapunzel, though, her ability to make the most out of her situation, which is so limited and so, I mean, it's the opening song, right? She learns how to do everything that she possibly can. You have to make the best out of where you are. Don't complain. If you're stuck in a tower, okay, well, she learned how to play guitar, knit, cook, everything. Like she learned ventriloquy. Okay. Like, why are you complaining about your life? Excuse me. There's something you can do, and how she never, even though she was stuck in those walls, she never let herself stay stuck in those walls. She looked out the window and she saw the lanterns and she trusted her instinct and her gut. And she was just like, I know this is crazy, but like, those are mine, right? Like those are for me. And she knew, and she would never like let herself lose that hope. And she always kept 7 a.m. every morning, gotta get up, gotta like, and somebody in her position would like be so depressed and lay in the bed all day and do nothing. And it turns out she is special. She was meant to be more. She did have a whole life waiting for her. There was an entire magical dream that a lot of people probably would have told her isn't possible. And yet it was real. And so her spirit and her inability to give up or like hate herself. I mean, think about all of the terrible comments that Mother Gothel makes, from her body to like her ability to just do anything and be a person. And I mean, she just has such resilience and strength. And I just love her so much. I just relate to her so deeply.
You could do a whole podcast episode just on Tangled and Rapunzel, honestly.
Let's dissect every scene.
Oh my God.
We'll have to do a series.
A princess series.
Like
that would
Disney
be fun.
princess
That'd be everything.
movie. I mean, honestly, I'd very obviously be down for that.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Since you have a lot of experience with this in your company, which Disney princess costume do you think is the most beautiful?
Oh, they are all so beautiful in different ways. I love all of them.
All of the above.
I love Rapunzel's because I love the colors, and it's also one of the most comfortable costumes. So that makes my day nice. Easier. Mm-hmm. Our Belle inspired character is just that yellow golden gown is just we recently upgraded too. So now it has all these layers and this velvet and the roses, and it really is just breathtaking. I do love the Cinderella too, because Cinderella and Belle wear hoops. So it just feels very grand. Like it feels like I am a princess going to a ball, whereas like our Elsa inspired character, it just never feels as royal to me, even though she's the queen. I don't know, it's just more, she wears like a skirt, and I mean, I love the Frozen 2 one so much more because she has pants, and like that costume we love like I ordered it, but I added probably over 1,000 gems by hand, putting each one on, gluing one at a time. And that to me, it truly sparkles. And like when the wig is in really good shape and the French braid is like perfect with all the wisps and like all the glitter and all the rhinestones, like that was never going to be an easy one answer. But I also love Jasmine.
Oh my God.
Like with the gold and the green. I mean, I have the new Jasmine inspired costume is the peacock feather pants, and oh my God, so much beauty.
Wow. Yeah. Your Libra moon is showing.
Oh my God. Yes, for sure.
It's impossible to choose just one. Well, speaking of your astrology stuff, what is your favorite part about being an Aries?
Aries is a fire sign, and I'm just so passionate, and I love that. Sometimes it's like too much. Sometimes I get tired of myself, but I'm over it. But I just love that I don't just like things. I love things. And also the other side of that is if I'm not interested in something, if I don't find it interesting, I am dead weight. You don't want me around. I cannot fake it. I will not do it. I'm just like, nope. And it's because I'm so passionate about so many other things. Look at all these other things that I could be like passionately filling my day with. And I could be adding this intensity to something that actually is worth my time. So I just think like the passion that I have for everything.
Okay, so we're going to transition over into the rapid fire questions for all Rediscover guests. And we're very excited to hear your answers. So the first one, as always, is what does living authentically mean to you?
It's like one of my favorite words is authentic.
Oh, well, then that's probably why you love this podcast.
Yeah, I love it. That's like my number when people say, what are you looking for in a man? Authenticity. I think living authentically is clearing out the noise for that whisper that I mentioned that Steven Spielberg says, your biggest dreams, your biggest ideas come with a whisper. So for him, that was Jaws, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, these movies that are now part of our cultural language, right? And whatever that is for you, it could turn out to be something on that level. You never know. So I know it's so hard. And people will probably listen to some things that I'm saying and they're like, how do you do that? Like, how do you have that confidence or whatever? And I would just say like, try the best you can to identify noise, because noise is really, really hard to drown out. So if you can manage to clear out the noise and hear your authentic voice, your real self inside that's whispering like, it would be really cool if you did that. And don't just squash it and get up and go to the job that you hate. Like, listen to that little voice, because that is your authentic self. Like, who are you on a random Tuesday at 1:00? Like, what do you want to do then? Friends are amazing. Family's amazing. Like your idols, whoever you look up to, authors, whatever, just what are you like? Trust yourself. Like, I really truly believe that everyone's individual desires are in them for a reason. Like, when I used to go to Disney all the time, my parents would be like, Lord, like you're spending a lot of money and like, do you have to go again? Like, is it really? And now, I mean, not only did I thankfully have one of my best friends from that era, but it's now how I pay my rent is so related and inspired by Disney. Like, that was building to something. Like, that desire to go there, it wasn't because I wanted to eat a Mickey bar and have fun, although that was a very big perk.
That was fun.
It was fun. it was leading me towards something. Like, I was being called to something. And had I not gone all that time, I never would have the attention to detail that I have now. I never would have the focus that I have now. And you know what I mean? It's just trying to clear out all of that, but finances, and like, but society, but this is what you're supposed to do, but this will make a better Instagram picture that everybody will think you're so cool for. It's like, stop, that's noise.
Yeah. We talk about blocking out the noise all the time. And I think that elaborated on a whole nother level.
You can always count on me to elaborate.
Yeah. I love it. If you could travel to one place anywhere in the world right now, where would it be and why would you go?
Oh my gosh. I'm so like dying to go everywhere.
We are too.
Us too.
I mean, of course, there's like my acting work brain that's like, I want to go wherever I can make a movie. Like, I want to go to LA or something like that. But I have so many places I'm dying to go. My dad is on the older side, and his parents literally came over on the boat from Italy to Ellis Island, like the whole classic American story. And so I'm trying to get my dad to go to Italy for my next birthday, which is April. So Italy is my number one, but I'm also dying to go to Japan. I really want to go to Tokyo. And I also am dying to go to Ireland, because even though I'm 50% Italian, so that's my dominant background, my mom is like a mix of all the other European countries, and I just feel connected to like I maybe I just want to meet like a really handsome Irish guitar player like in PS I Love You. That might just be it, but
that would be fun.
That'd be everything.
Okay, so I'll be interested to see how you answer this. So what is one thing you would be doing every single day if your life were completely free of limitations?
Ooh. I probably would travel more. Like if traveling was free, I would just travel everywhere all the time, and I would just wait for auditions to come through and then fly right back, because like I have endless money, I would just see the world all the time.
Yeah.
What is one childlike quality that you think would be beneficial if adults utilized it in their daily lives?
Oh my God, they're so wonderful. It's so great to be around them all the time. Sometimes they know so much more than we do because they don't have years of noise. They don't have all of these predetermined BS mindsets. I remember once I was assisting one of our Jasmine inspired characters, and they're always asking about the villains. They're like very concerned about it.
Oh, they are. It's so true.
Yeah. And one of the other little kids didn't know what had happened in the movie. And they were like, what did Jafar do? And another kid was like, he tried to kill them. And this little kid just goes, Jasmine, why would anybody try to hurt you?
Oh.
And I was just like, that clarity of just like, well, why would you ever try to hurt anybody? That's stupid. Like, I would rather play with a water balloon than hurt somebody. You know what I mean? Like just that very innocent, like,
yes.
What? Somebody stole money from somebody else? That's stupid. Want to go play a game? You know what I mean? Like there's just that, let's have fun instead. Or like, let's just be nice to each other. Isn't it so much nicer when we all just like have fun together?
It's so simple.
And do you notice that sometimes if you try to explain something serious to a child, like, sexuality or something like that, they'll just be like, okay, I'm hungry.
Yep. They're just like taking it in stride. Their consciousness is so clear.
Yeah. There's no judgments or point of views that are like conflicting or limiting. So
exactly.
I feel like a main thread of this podcast has been about clearing limitations and soaring to your highest, most aligned self. And I think that's ultimately like a core of what we want to talk about and rediscover. So thank you for being able to guide us through this conversation.
Of course, my new word is limitless. Like I just keep telling myself every day, I'm just like, I'm limitless. I'm limitless. Like, don't listen to anyone. Don't worry about what you think you can't do. Like, you're limitless. Just try,
You're an infinite being.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for an incredible conversation today, Lia.
I'm so happy. Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm so glad we got to have you on for this month, particularly.
It's my like great privilege that you would even consider me in that light. It's such an honor because I think of you so highly. I mean, obviously you're one of my closest friends, but Kristen too. I've always thought of you guys as so amazing and interesting and
thank you.
Great writers and photographers and like inspiring people and adventurous people. And it's just so lovely to be thought of like this by you guys.
Oh, I honestly was so excited to do this month. And to be completely honest, I think we thought of you and then we thought of the name of the month, the conversation we wanted to have. And then I think that was when we came up with this whole idea of incredible women doing unconventional things, because not to use another cliche, but the world literally is your oyster and you have embodied that and you have just taken life by the horns and gone for it. But I think for anyone who is struggling with their own self-concept or anyone who is maybe like me and experiences self-doubt, or anyone who's just still figuring out who they are or doesn't know or have a great clarity around what they want to do, like this is going to be so transformative for them to hear. So if that's you, I hope that you have enjoyed it and gotten something from it. Please take a screenshot and post it on your Instagram story or on Twitter or on Facebook, and you can tag Lia too. So Lia, tell everyone where they can find you.
So I'm on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Capria Moon, which is at CAPRIAMOON. And then if you want to follow my company, it's Once Upon a Princess NJ. That's the Instagram handle, and onceuponaprincessnj.com. And then my podcast is the Ashley and Jessica Cast, and that is at Ashley and Jessica Cast on Instagram.
The whole repertoire.
And
if you do live in the New Jersey area and are looking for a little magic at an event, definitely reach out to Lia's company, because you can make magic happen.
We do New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and wherever you live. We also do Zoom and FaceTime, and we also do personalized videos if you don't want to get on a live. Sometimes people don't want to with their children, but just do it because they love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
very so cool.
Pandemic friendly. So I'm glad you have different options.
Yes, that was hard to survive for obviously a business that involves gatherings.
Yes.
Yes.
But we're so glad you still are surviving, not only surviving, but thriving.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. And if this resonated with you, or if you feel that somebody in your life is sort of in a season of growth or transition and they could benefit from hearing Lia's words of wisdom, please share this with them through Spotify or Apple or wherever they like to listen to podcasts.
This has been such a joy and has been so uplifting and inspiring. And that is my favorite type of episode to round out. So thank you for just being here and spending all this time with us. And thank you everyone so much for listening. We will talk to you next time. And thank you so much for being here.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Rediscover. Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening. Your reviews are what keep us going, and we'd love to hear from you. Join us every Tuesday for a new conversation, and let us know what you think we should talk about next. Follow us on Instagram at positively.kristen and at jessicafay508. And check out Jess's blog at theroadjesstraveled with 1l.com. Until next time, stay frumpy!